Welcome to Biggest Spoilars, the destination for exclusive spoilers, latest updates.
General Hospital spoilers are in for Monday, November 24, 2025. In the coming occasion, suckers can anticipate Laura Collins to get a warning, and it'll be at the hands of Sonny Corinthos. Plus, Carly Spencer encounters Jocelyn Jacks, and Jason Morgan makes a pledge. Keep reading, and let's talk about what's coming up in the ABC Cleaner pieces. Sonny Corinthos' grim discovery. Let's launch off with Sonny, who discovered Professor Henry Hank Dalton in Laura's box. The mob master called Jason Morgan and had it dealt with incontinently. The mayor was completely freaked out and still is about the situation. Sonny tried to keep Laura calm, but the woman knows she should have called the police. Of course, if she had, she'd probably be arrested on dubitation of murder, especially after her public trouble and Rocco Falconeri's issues. It seems that Laura's political palm could hit some snags when people find out Dalton is missing. Laura Collins advised in the coming occasion, Sonny will issue a warning to Laura. The mob master says that she's opening them both up to felonious charges. When he says that, Laura's eyes get wide and her jaw drops open. Laura surely looks panicked, as she continues to worry about the situation she's been placed in. Jocelyn Jacks encountered General Hospital spoilers reveal that Jocelyn just met up with Vaughn. After a rollick in bed, the Golden warns the man that this could end with a lot further than a broken heart. That same day, Joss has an hassle with Carly Spencer. So, that will probably bear Jocelyn to construct another cover story about what she's doing in that part of town. Jason Morgan's oath. There's also Jason Morgan, who issues an oath. The man will be determined to prove to Britt Westbourne that she can count on him. Meanwhile, Dante Falconeri makes a pledge, as well. At the police station, Justine Turner tells Nathan West to bring him into guardianship. Is she pertaining to Sonny, or perhaps a leave is issued for Dalton? Across city, Lucas Jones also gives an update to Elizabeth Liz Baldwin. The man says everything was great with Marco Rios until it wasn't. In addition, Jack Brennan corners an unseen person. The WSB master says with a dispassionateness, "This is what happens to people who defy my orders." It looks like someone is about to be terminated, but who's it? Brennan's trouble is fierce, so it'll be intriguing to see what exactly unfolds on Monday's show. General Hospital spoilers allude that Jason Morgan may kiss Britt Westbourne in an emotional moment. Will Jason maintain for Britt's trust and produce a huge turning point for this pairing? Although Jason came through for Britt at the Five Poppies resort, she's been unintentional to truly let him in. Britt's been keeping her walls up and trying to cover herself along with Jason. This is incompletely about Britt feeling like she'll no way come first for Jason, so she's shielding her heart. That said, there's obviously a deeper reason why Britt's been shutting down Jason's attempts to get near. This is also about Britt's part in Cesar Faison's final design and the mess she was forced into. Britt woke up in Croatia and was anticipated to continue her father's work in exchange for these drug boluses to keep her Huntington's complaint at bay. Of course, this agony operation with Jen Sidwell and his secret mate is really taking a risk now. Following Professor Henry Hank Dalton's demise and Pascal's pitfalls, G.H. Sucker saw a spooked and broken interpretation of Britt. Britt's feelings will pour out indeed more in the November 21st occasion as Jason pushes her to make a full concession. Jason will point out that Danny Morgan said the stolen crucial fob belonged to Britt. Britt's link to Dalton and all the lab dusk will leave Jason with indeed further questions than he'd ahead. Although Britt will be reticent to give answers, Jason will keep pushing and hope he can tear these walls down. Britt will ultimately let the gashes inflow as she shouts about demanding to know Jason is worth risking her life. That'll tell Jason this is indeed a matter of life and death. Britt could be wiped off the chart like Dalton if she spills too important, so Jason will be asking a lot of her when he pressures her for all the details. Still, Jason will no doubt look at Britt with those honest eyes of his and swear that he'll cover her. Jason may realize Britt's in way over her head and promise that he can help if she'll let him. It's easy to imagine a kiss passing as this emotional moment plays out. Jason may pull Britt into a lip cinch to prove their connection is strong and prompt her to follow her heart. Britt's heart might tell her she can trust Jason enough to give him some honesty. Indeed, if Britt doesn't partake the whole unattractive story, she could discover up most of it and help Jason understand the situation. This could serve as a turning point for Jason and Britt romantically, so perhaps they could hit the wastes in the near future, too. General Hospital spoilers say Britt has a chance to have someone in her corner if she'll grunt to Jason, so stay tuned for updates on any news she'll deliver. The custodians of the corpse, Sonny and Laura, pact of silence. The transition from the dark, lonely highway to the mayoral office did nothing to alleviate the chill that had settled in Laura Collins's bones. The space, once a symbol of her hard-won authority and public trust, now felt like a gilded cage. The ghost of Dalton's body, with its grotesque, river-bleached complexion, was a phantom limb of her consciousness, an invisible weight she carried with every trembling step. Sonny Corinthos, in contrast, was a study in grim pragmatism. Having overseen the initial containment of the crisis, he now faced the second, more volatile phase, managing Laura's conscience. Her panic was a palpable force in the room, a live wire of guilt and terror. "We have to go to the police, Sonny," she implored, her voice a strained whisper. This is insane. I'm the mayor. I can't be a part of this." It was then that Sonny delivered his warning, his voice dropping into a register of cold, unvarnished truth. He didn't shout, he didn't need to. The quiet intensity of his words was far more effective. "If you do that, you are opening us both up to criminal charges," he stated, his gaze locking with hers. "Obstruction of justice. Accessory after the fact. You found a body and your first call was to a known mob boss, not the PCPD. How do you think that looks?" The reality of his words hit Laura with the force of a physical blow. Her eyes widened, her jaw dropping open in a silent gasp of horror. The panic that had been simmering now boiled over. He was right. Her public threat against Dalton, combined with Rocco's very public feud with the professor, painted a damning picture. She would be the prime suspect, her political win instantly transformed into a motive for murder. Her baptism into this nightmare was no longer just about witnessing a crime, it was about becoming an accomplice to its cover-up. Sonny's warning was not a threat against her, but a stark map of the legal minefield they now both occupied. Her freedom, her career, her very identity were now inextricably linked to Sonny Corinthos and the shadowy world he commanded. This tense standoff in the mayor's office was happening in parallel to the gears of justice grinding forward in a tragically misdirected way. At the police station, ADA Justine Turner, a woman whose ambition was a sharper weapon than any sidearm, applied official pressure to Nathan West. Her directive was clear and simple: bring him into custody. The ambiguity was agonizing. Was a warrant being issued for Sonny, based on some unseen evidence? Or, in a twist of cruel irony, was the system finally moving to arrest Professor Dalton, a man who was no longer in a condition to be arrested? Nathan, the good cop with a strong moral compass, now faced an impossible task, one that would test his dedication to the law against his growing suspicions about the rot festering just beneath the city's surface. A vow in the shadows, Jason's plea and Britt's fortress of fear. While Laura grappled with a political and legal abyss, Britt Westbourne was trapped in a prison of a different kind, its walls built from fear, genetic fate, and the ghost of her monstrous father. Her room above Bobby's was no longer a sanctuary, it was the place where Jason Morgan had twice confronted her, and twice been forced to leave. The memory of his abrupt departure to handle Sonny's problem was a fresh wound, confirming her core belief: she was, and always would be, expendable. When Jason returned, the air in the room shifted. This was not the man on a mission from Sonny, this was Jason as few ever saw him, determined, but on a deeply personal crusade. He had seen the cracks in her armor, the raw terror beneath the acerbic wit. He issued his vow not with grand pronouncements, but with a quiet, unwavering intensity that was far more potent. He was determined to prove to Britt that she could count on him, that his promise of protection was not conditional or secondary. The emotional dam holding back Britt's secrets was already straining. Jason's pushing was methodical, his logic irrefutable. He pointed out the undeniable link: Danny Morgan had confirmed the stolen key fob belonged to her. This wasn't just about the 5 poppies anymore, it was about a direct connection to Dalton's lab, to the very incident that had ensnared Rocco, Charlotte, and Danny. you're in trouble. I want to help, but I can't if you keep me in the dark, Jason insisted, his blue eyes seeing through every one of her deflections. The pressure became too much. Britt's emotions, held in check for so long, poured out in a torrent of desperate, shouted truth. I have to know you will put me first. That I'm worth risking my life. This was the core of it. This wasn't just about trust, it was about value. It was the cry of a woman who had woken up in Croatia, a pawn in her dead father's game, forced to continue Caesar Faison's work with Sidwell and his secret partner in exchange for the medication that staved off her Huntington's disease. To trust Jason was to risk being wiped off the map like Dalton, to make herself a target for the cold, ruthless efficiency of men like Pascal and Sidwell. In this emotionally charged moment, where Britt's tears laid bare her utter vulnerability and Jason's vow offered a lifeline, the dynamic between them could fundamentally shift. It is easy to imagine Jason, seeing the profound fear in her eyes, moving beyond words. He might pull her into a kiss, not one of passion, but of promise. A physical seal on his vow, a desperate attempt to communicate what words could not, that their connection was real, that he saw her, and that he would stand between her and the darkness she feared. This kiss would be a turning point, a plea for trust that could shatter the walls she had built around her heart. It would be a moment where the possibility of them hitting the sheets in the near future becomes not just a romantic fantasy, but a natural progression of this profound, hard-won intimacy. For Britt, the choice is stark: continue to shield herself and face Sidwell's wrath alone, or blab to Jason, placing her life in the hands of the one man who might actually be capable of saving it. Forbidden fruit and maternal instincts, Jocelyn's reckless path. In stark contrast to the life and death stakes facing Laura and Britt, Jocelyn Jack's drama was one of youthful rebellion, though no less dangerous. Her secret rendezvous with S. Vaughn had escalated from stolen glances to a full-blown, forbidden romp in bed. In the afterglow, the reality of their situation set in. Jocelyn, ever protective of those she loved, voiced a concern that was bigger than their secret. This could end with a lot more than a broken heart, she warned Vaughn, her thoughts drifting to Lucas Jones living under Sidwell's roof. Her intuition, a Spencer family trait, was picking up on the malevolent energy that surrounded the Cassadine mansion, sensing that Lucas had traded one kind of pain for a far more perilous situation. Their clandestine bubble was destined to be popped by the one person Jocelyn could never hide from, her mother. Her encounter with Carly Spencer later that day would force her into a corner. Caught in a part of town where she had no logical reason to be, flushed with the evidence of her secret tryst, Jocelyn would be forced to invent a cover story on the spot. Carly's maternal radar, finely tuned to her children's deceptions, would immediately ping, putting Jocelyn squarely on the hot seat. This domestic tension was a ticking time bomb, one that could easily attract the attention of the most dangerous man in their orbit, Jack Brennan. Brennan, the coldly efficient WSB boss, was also on the warpath. His threat, delivered with chilling calm to an unseen person, "This is what happens to people who disobey my orders," hung over the episode like a shroud. Was his target Vaughn for his forbidden entanglement with Jocelyn? Was it someone else who had failed in their duties? The promise of termination, whether professional or literal, was a reminder that the personal dramas of Port Charles were often just a single misstep away from intersecting with its deadliest players. Fractured families and cryptic clues, the human cost. The ripple effects of the city's central crises continued to impact its families, weaving a tapestry of personal struggle alongside the overarching conspiracies. Dante Falconeri, isolated by his anger and fear for Rocco, would make a promise of his own. This vow, likely a solemn pledge to himself or his son, would be one of control and protection, a determination to steer Rocco back to safety, a father's attempt to bulldoze a path through the chaos, unaware that his methods were pushing his other son, Gio, further into the emotional wilderness. That fractured bond between father and son had been momentarily soothed by the tender scene between Gio and Brooke Lynn, a moment that stood as a beacon of hope amidst the gloom. Joe's quiet thanks, Mom, and their subsequent embrace, witnessed by a pleased Michael, was a testament to the power of encouraging words to heal generational wounds. It was a reminder that even in the darkest times, connections could be forged and repaired. Meanwhile, Lucas Jones, seeking solace from his own broken heart, found himself in a potentially more sinister environment. His update to Elizabeth Baldwin was cryptic and unsettling. "Everything was great with Marco Rios until it wasn't," he confessed, a statement that could easily apply to his new residence at Windermere. The phrase hinted at the bizarre and dark happenings beginning to permeate the ancient castle. Lucas, in fleeing one pain, may have willingly walked into a gothic nightmare, becoming an unwitting resident in the epicenter of Sidwell's machinations. His presence there made him a potential pawn, a witness, or a victim in a game he didn't understand. The stage was now set for a conflict that would redefine the power structure of Port Charles. Laura Collins, the moral center of the city, was now complicit in a cover-up, her political future held hostage by a secret she shared with its underworld kingpin. Britt Westbourne stood at a crossroads, her life depending on a single, terrifying act of trust in Jason Morgan, a moment that could be sealed with a kiss and change the course of both their lives. And weaving through it all were the reckless passions of the young, the steadfast promises of protectors, and the cold, angry threats of those who ruled from the shadows. The baptism was over. The war for the future of Port Charles, and for the very souls of its inhabitants, was now fully, terrifyingly, underway.